I was diagnosed with ADHD at 41 years old. And honestly, it changed how I see my entire life. Things I thought were personality flaws, things I blamed myself for, suddenly made sense. But the most shocking part? I had been showing signs of ADHD for decades, and nobody noticed. It actually started with a random video online. A woman was describing ADHD symptoms in adult women, and it felt like she was describing my brain. Chronic overwhelm, starting 100 things and finishing none. Feeling capable, but somehow always behind. And that's when the question hit me. What if this isn't laziness? What if this is ADHD? When most people think of ADHD, they imagine a hyperactive little boy bouncing off classroom walls. But ADHD in women often looks very different. It looks like being labelled sensitive, or scatterbrained, or too much. It looks like constantly overthinking, feeling overwhelmed by simple tasks, or needing huge pressure just to start something. So instead of getting help, many women just learn to mask. And we become experts at pretending everything is fine. The first shock after diagnosis was realizing how much ADHD had shaped my life. Why school felt harder than it should have. Why I worked twice as hard as everyone else just to stay organized. Why small tasks sometimes felt impossible, but hyper-focusing for hours on something interesting was easy. For the first time, my brain made sense. The second shock was emotional. There was relief, but also grief. I kept thinking about all the years I spent believing I was the problem. Lazy, disorganized, not trying hard enough, when in reality, my brain was simply wired differently, and nobody had told me. What shocked me most was learning how many women are still undiagnosed. Girls with ADHD are often quieter, better at masking, better at pushing through. So they slip through the cracks, and many of them don't discover the truth until their 30s, 40s, or even later. I always thought ADHD was about attention, but it's actually about executive function. Planning, starting tasks, managing time, regulating emotions. So the struggle isn't intelligence, it's the invisible mental systems that help life run smoothly. After my diagnosis, something unexpected happened. I stopped fighting my brain and started working with it. I learned tools that actually work for ADHD. Structure instead of pressure. Compassion instead of self-criticism. And slowly, things began to change. If you've ever felt like life is harder than it should be, like everyone else got the manual except you might not be broken. Your brain might just work differently. And discovering that can change everything. If you were diagnosed with ADHD later in life, or you're wondering if you might have it, tell me your story in the comments. And if this video helped you feel a little less alone, subscribe for more conversations about ADHD in women.